Good morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to this week's Weekly Energy Boost. My name is Elisheva, and I am hoping, well, first I want to say Happy New Year to everyone. I don't know if I'm the first person to say it to you, and I certainly won't be the last, but it is January 1st, and in the spirit of the new year, we're going to be talking today about how to spiritually restore in 2024. To help me with that immense responsibility, Rachel Yardeni is here with us this morning, and she is going to offer us her own perspective and insight and experience in how you can make the most out of the renewal energy that's coming at us this week, and we'll explain where that's coming from as well. Weekly Energy Boost is a 7-day spiritual weather forecast where we provide our listeners with the most powerful and practical tools to help navigate the coming 7 days. We do that through exploring the wisdom and tools of Kabbalah. And inevitably, every episode we share tools and wisdom you can use at any time, anywhere. And this is no different, even though we are talking about using this week and the perception and the experience of having a fresh start to restore and invigorate the parts of our lives that maybe have fallen asleep or are not as fulfilling as we'd like them to be. And at the same time, one of, I think, the most important reminders about talking about how to refresh is that you don't need the calendar to indicate when it's time to refresh. Starting new or choosing to do things differently to make a change doesn't require a calendar or a clock. It can happen anywhere at any time. And I think that's a great place to start. So first of all, thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me, Elisheva.
New York is quite far. So I definitely appreciate when we have guests that need to travel by air in order to be here.
Gladly.
How are you going to spiritually restore in 2024?
So that's a big question, I think, for all of us. And I feel like there's always a lot of pressure around like setting goals and New Year resolutions. And to be honest, like you said, I think, when we talk about the consciousness of Kabbalah, we're always renewing. We're renewed every day. Every day is an opportunity. Every day there's new light in kabbalistic language. There's new challenges. And yeah, that's why we do what we do, right, Elisheva? Consciousness is everything. And we do want to use this time to look at our life, to look what we've done, to take account of where we've been and where we want to go. I think that's a good place to start. And it has to come from a place of, for me at least, from excitement. Yes, we need to see the things that we said we would do and we didn't do and we couldn't do or we failed to do. That's okay to look at it, but not from a place of, heaviness, but from a place of, let me do things differently so that I can actually feel and experience a different part of who I am and who I want to become.
What's interesting, though, is on the Kabbalistic calendar, we're not anywhere near a new month, or I think it's the 20th of Capricorn, and we've been talking about how the month of Capricorn can be heavy, right? Everything, the Capricorn perception that life is hard work, that things need to be difficult. If things aren't difficult, they're not effective, it's not working. Where is almost like they miss the struggle if it's not there. So if you're not feeling that vibe of, yeah, let's start fresh, everybody gets a new page, blah, 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 there's a reason for that. At the same time, I think the point that you're making is when you decide you want to do something differently, that's already new. That's already creating something new.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, the month of Capricorn is usually so heavy for myself. And we can take advantage, though, of every single zodiac, I feel. And I think that actually it's a great time for those of us like myself who are not so structured in their planning to create a structure that works for you and using and utilizing the energy this month and the new year to make it doable. I think, if you ask me, make it doable, make it easier on yourself to create the goals and to reach them. It doesn't have to be hard, actually. It doesn't have to be, I set my goal high, but high enough that I can actually take some steps and feel that I'm moving forward.
So how do you do that kind of strategic planning?
So, first of all, I think it requires honesty. I need to honestly sit with myself, have a date with myself, and maybe even close my eyes. I close my eyes and I replay my life and the way I've been living my life, the way I've been waking up each and every morning. And sit with yourself. Sit with yourself. See where you were. See where you want to go. And see also everything that is in your life that's still there. Whether you have kids, whether you have other responsibilities, whether you're teaching classes, whether you're meeting, people one-on-one, such as myself. And implement another aspect of, action or study or, whatever your goal is, or exercise, whatever it is that you plan to add on to expand yourself and become the greater, stronger, more spiritual version of yourself. You can add it on to all the wonderful things you're already doing instead of coming from a place of, everything I didn't do. And, I already said I'm going to do this and I didn't. We have a habit of staying too much in what we didn't do and what didn't work than just, observing, saying, okay, I need to, actually appreciate all that I've done. But I want more. I want more. I want to meditate more. I want to exercise more. And maybe sometimes that means starting, if you're not doing it at all, starting once a week. Or, if you have no structure in the mornings, then twice in the week, you say, these 2 times, I'm going to take that half an hour or however long you want to take. And this is what I'm going to do. And write it down and have it in front of you. And don't put yourself aside because, I think me and you always speak about this, us women, we have so many things going on, especially if you have little kids, not that I do, but there's just a lot going on in my household as well without getting into the details where the energy seems to kind of lure me into what everybody else needs. And then I don't stay committed to myself. And that's part of my work, how do I commit more to myself? And what does it mean myself? It sounds a little selfish, but it's not really, because if I'm operating from a place of fuller capacity, it means that I have more to actually give from a place of wholeness. And I'm not just running around and catering to everybody's needs. And then I'm like, so what was I going to do? So that's, that's my personal piece.
Well, I want to draw attention to 2 nuggets that you mixed into the bowl you just shared with us.
I tend to do that.
That platter, because I also don't want to assume that our listeners know the reference, or even I don't want to miss the opportunity to dissect it because there's such goodness in there. And you reminded me while you were talking about, I don't remember how long ago, but a few weeks ago, David was talking about how if you don't, or I don't want to say it in the negative, by making time in the morning to really set your consciousness, nourish your consciousness, that it's not just a goal setting session, it's also immersing your mind, your thoughts into the energy and the mindset that you want to maintain for the day. So most people, they check their phone and their first thought is, oh, crap.
I'm happy you mentioned that checking the phone thing. And I want to talk about that. Yes.
So the Kabbalists talk about the importance of the first parts of your day are really the seed of your day. The same way that the first day of the month is the seed of the month. We have a seed to plant every single day. And so while you were listening, I was thinking, I remember, let's say 5 years ago, hearing David say stuff like that and being like, you're not a mom to people in diapers. You can't talk like that, even though he does have young kids at home. For many, many years, and it's worth acknowledging, there are certain times in life where you may not have control of your first waking moments, and that's okay too. And I shared back then that my strategy was taking the moments before I go to sleep and bringing energy, visualizing how I want my day to go, giving myself that time to read something that's inspiring and that's supportive, so that even though someone's going to wake me up tomorrow morning and I'm not really going to have the luxury of, guys, mom needs some space right now. But I had I allowed myself to create my own system that maybe it wasn't perfect or it's not ideal for every stage of life, but I want everyone to know that whatever you need to do to make it work for you, you need to make that work for you. That's one. Being able to create more of what you want means setting aside time to actively imagine it and dedicate energy to it. So whether you can do it, my point is, the morning is the best time to do it because it's really when you set the tone for the day. But even if you can't, that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. You should find a different time of day to do it for the next day. The second thing that you said, which was really, I hope I'm not going to forget what it was, which is really important, is making sure that you take care of yourself, and then you're able to give from a place of wholeness. So the 30 seconds I want to say about that is, and maybe this is going to shock some people because I don't know if we've ever said this out loud or overtly on the Weekly Energy Boost, but the wisdom of Kabbalah teaches that the most important relationship in our lives is the one with the Creator, with the source, with the light, whatever you're comfortable calling it. And the more we put that relationship first, the better all of the other relationships in our life is going to be. Now, again, depending on your age and your stage, you might be saying, well, if I don't feed my children, nobody's going to feed them. So I can't spend time with the Creator when I should be helping my children survive.
But can I pause you there for a minute?
Yeah.
So this is another aspect that I wanted to touch upon, and I thought about it when you were talking about waking up to diapers, or not knowing what your morning is going to look like, because you might have to wake up at 4 a.m. to feed a baby. And it's appreciating, first of all, the Creator is us and is in us, each and every one of us. We have a spark. We've heard that so many times. There's a divine, pure part in us that enable us to give and to share and to put ourselves, aside for a moment and see what the other needs. And that's beautiful. But I think somewhere along the line, because we are, have many compartments and aspects to our life, we forget that even taking a moment and saying, okay, right now, I am the Creator. I'm actually in giving mode. I'm actually in sharing mode. And that's okay. Just the moment of appreciating that, it already changes how everything goes from there.
No question. And I think even committing to investing in that relationship when time allows, which might be, by the way, I shared this many times, sometimes the only time I have to meditate is like while I'm in the car waiting to pick someone up. So this is true stories of Kabbalah teachers. I sometimes go to pick up my kids from school early so I can sit parked waiting to pick them up and have that time. Sometimes it's to meditate, sometimes it's to listen to something that's inspiring to me. But if I don't, and I'm not talking about 2 hours, I'm saying I might get there 10 minutes early, 15 minutes early, just because the day got ahead of me and I didn't have the time that I would have loved to inject and dedicate to my own connection. And so to me, I know that last year in our New Year's episode, we talked about creating routine and structure. I feel like maybe the best way to turn that into something new is to talk about or to emphasize the importance of and this is very anti-Capricorn too, being gentle.
Yes.
About your structure and your process and your commitment and dedication to sticking to it and making it work. Because, right, the biggest joke is, everybody signs up for the gym in January, but the gym is empty in February, right? So that shift to becoming gentle, right? What the difference is in the energy is so essential. If you set yourself up to fail, like you were talking about that, you don't want to give yourself goals that there is, in order to maintain, you're going to run yourself ragged.
That's where the heaviness comes from, I feel. When you set goals that are like literally impossible and it's New Year's, let's make goals, and you just make a list without feeling you and all that you are doing already, and how can you add, and how can you grow, and how can you expand. It's such a different tone that you bring in than just, I have to do this and I'm going to try this again. You don't want to bring that heaviness, even though we're in Capricorn, but right. we want to create whatever structure our vessel needs. And sometimes a day can be, the day can look different as far as what structure do I need today, because today is a very different day. And that's why I said also, even exercising, I have friends that, and myself as well, by the way, I do this too. When sometimes I slack my morning, I say, you know what, let me exercise for 15 minutes and break a sweat, and it's better than nothing. If it's not 15 minutes, it's 10 minutes. If it's not 10 minutes, it's 5 minutes. It still makes a difference. Like you said, you go to your school early. You make a conscious effort to pause, to stop, and to meditate or listen or inspire or just breathe or just say, you know what? I'm doing good. I am doing good and I'm moving forward.
I know so many. Maybe I'll send this episode directly to the few people I'm thinking of now that need to hear that message, not from me, but from you. I think that part of the energy that we're surrounded with this week is, because we look at January 1st as a new beginning, the start of something new, a break from the old. I feel like that's another, I want to ask you to speak about this as well. The idea that we can use the energy right now to detach from anything in the past year that maybe is weighing us down, or a story we told ourselves, or any kind of resentment or any emotional burden that may have, and, honestly, looking at the state of the world today, I don't know, I was thinking about it yesterday that I have been so much more anxious in the last few months, more than I have been in many, 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 many years. And not because of something personal, obviously something more global, but that I can still, the realization for me yesterday was I can decide, and not that I don't know this, I probably say this on every episode, but I get to decide how the world affects me. I get to decide how checking my phone, refreshing the news, finding out what's going on, I get to decide how it affects me. And I feel like one of the important messages of flipping the calendar page and you have a fresh start is, what do I want to leave behind? What do I want to leave in 2023? I don't want to take with me into 2024. And I know that you have done a lot of breathwork certification and teaching others. And I wonder if you can share with us a little bit about that and how we can use our breath to both connect us to what we want and release what we don't.
Amazing. So, yeah, and thank you for bringing up the breath, because it's a big tool to just stop and realign yourself on a very simple level. And we know this Kabbalistically. We know that, in the Kabbalistic writings, because Kabbalah speaks about the beginning of everything and the beginning of creation of us, of man, of first man. And one of the things that it says in many places, in the Zohar actually, is that when the Creator created us, which is first man, which is all of us, we know we all come from that first soul called Adam, that he took part of the dust of the earth and created man. But then what it says, that later he breathed into him the breath of his soul. So that's telling us already one thing. The minute I connect...
And that's a direct quote from Genesis. That's
right.
Not an interpretation. That's a literal...
That's right.
What's
Ba'apav nishmat chaim. The breath of life. The breath of his soul. And we need to know that most of the day, most of us, unless we're doing this work and unless we really take time, I know many people practice many different things. It's always with the breath. But even if I set the timer daily for 3 minutes and I close my eyes and I'm just following my breath, and you'll see after 30 seconds, 1 minute, things start to slow down, or not, but you still become aware of what's happening inside you. It is a tool to just bring the soul energy into the anxiousness that we feel at times, to the busy mind, watching the mind and hearing the voice of our soul saying, it's okay, I'm right here. I know there's a lot going on. Just keep breathing and you'll know what and where can you put yourself now to, to take the next step forward in whatever it is happening in your life. And it goes back to what I'm saying is that so many times we focus on what we're not doing enough, where we're doing so many things, And you asked the question about how did I get into breathwork. So first of all, our teacher, Karen Berg, who used to come and take one look at you and kind of suggest, different things for you to move forward or, see a talent about you that you didn't see about yourself. Karen spent many years, with trying to bring different modalities into what we do. And she told me straight up one time, you should really check this out. I think it would really do you some good and you could do a lot with it. And so finally, during COVID, before COVID, I experienced it with a healer. His name is David Elliott, actually. And both me and my husband. And it was such an experience, and it was so simple that I was just almost like, can this really be? Just a breath takes you into a place where you cleanse and heal and release and see things about yourself. And the answer is yes. And I reached out, I looked him up, and I took my first online course during COVID, but I did more work with it elsewhere. And then after COVID, I actually trained with him. I went to New Mexico. I spent a week there practicing, introspecting, healing. Whenever we do anything, we're actually healing our own self in the process. And that's a beautiful experience. And that's how I got into it. And that's how here I am.
And what are you doing with it now? Do you do classes and sessions? How does it work?
I'm doing one-on-one sessions with people. I'm also doing in-person sessions weekly in New York at the Kabbalah Centre. And my goal this year is actually to have a Zoom online 30-minute practice where people from anywhere around the world, because I've been asked to do this, have asked me to enable that. And one of my goals this year is to just feel and get a little more comfortable with technology. Because I'm not so savvy when it comes to technology. So it's something that I plan to, I've already started a little bit, just to be accessible and to be able to share more. And it used to debilitate me, the idea of, logging in and logging on, and there's funny stories about it, but I'm ready.
The universe has listened.
Yes, I'm placing the order in the universe, and it's going to come. Yeah.
So can you share with us an example of something that shifted for you or for someone that you've worked with through doing the breath work? Because I think I have experienced it, but I think before I experienced it, I was like, what? I'm just going to breathe, it doesn't. Can you give us something concrete that you've witnessed or you've experienced?
Yeah, I'm thinking because I want to think of a good one.
Well, no, listen, we've done it in a group setting where the best way I can the best example I can give is that it's almost like getting high, but without drugs. Like you really feel an altered state.
Yes.
Now, if you haven't done drugs, that might not mean anything, but I'm interested, and I think our listeners are probably also interested in, okay, great, you feel what you feel. How does that change you the week after, the month after? How does it leave its impact?
So I'll say this, each person holds, when you say drugs, you mean like the plant medicine that everybody's kind of, doing out there and different things. Yeah.
To elevate, not to be weighed down.
Right. And this is a much simpler way to go about it with no effects at all. Like the body is just feeling maybe hungry after, for myself. And I'll tell you, I've had people in class telling me in shock that they had the same experience, like sitting there in shock. But what I wanted to say to begin with is each and every one of us, we know kabbalistically we've been here many lifetimes. We've come from many different places and spaces and lineages. And so for everyone, it's really different what shows up for them, what comes up, what they allow. Because again, remember, we are stubborn people. We don't let go of control so easily. And the way this breathing system works, which is through the mouth mostly, and it's done laying down, is it can bring up what's inside you that you maybe haven't spoken about. It can bring you to a place where the unconscious mind becomes conscious, and it takes you to a place where you experience your soul. You actually experience how much love there is inside you and around you, and how, I like to call it how patient the Creator is with you. But let me think of a more specific example. So there was one lady that came, I would say about 2 months ago. She's done this type of modality before. Her friend brought her to the center for the first time. And she's going through the session. The session is about 45 minutes to an hour. It's pretty advanced, the one we do at the center. And at the beginning, I was watching her body. She was crying a lot and releasing a lot, which isn't always the experience, but maybe it's part of it. And then she went into this euphoric state. And when we brought her back in the meditation, she shared that she had a really rough upbringing and, some abuse in the past. And she realized that she thought that she totally put it behind her. She totally forgave. And she actually realized that she really still holds on to, layers of it. And she was able to open up and forgive and let go and know with certainty that there was purpose in it. There was lessons in it. It was there in her life to create who she is today, which she works with people, she heals people, she helps people. And she had a really great experience. Wow. And, that's one example.
That's a great example that I just wanted to, we're talking about the story without actually telling the story. And I think that example is a great story.
Yeah. I could share what I experienced. One really big thing that I've experienced, in the training that I did. And, everybody always tells me, do a past life regression, you have to tap, even the Rav told us, right? You have to tap into at least one past life. And I actually experienced myself in a past life. And it was intense. And I experienced myself, almost being choked, like trying to be choked, like ending my life in that way. It was powerful. At the same time, it released a lot of coughing that I deal with, and just something in my throat. Yes. Very powerful.
Wow.
It opened up many things for me after that. I could speak more freely. I could express myself. I was, I'm doing this work with it.
Well, if you want to learn more about that work, you can go to weeklyenergyboost.com, and right at the top of the page, click the link and read more about that. One of the things I realized that intersects with everything we shared today is that the energy of newness is actually coming from the biblical portions, right? From the Zohar and from the story. We're starting a new book basically this week. And so that energy of newness, it is we are literally starting a new story, a new saga. And with that brings a couple things that I think it's important to be aware of. If you've been listening for more than a year, you heard us talk about it previous years. It always comes up. And I think it actually coincides with the new year really well, because sometimes when you come to look at, setting goals and New Year's resolutions, if you think, I know it's happened to me before, that the goals just carry over. Like I didn't hit the marks, not in a, I don't want to say I'm not in a way that I'm beating myself up, but just
like in a judgmental way.
I didn't fully realize these dreams and these tasks. And so I need to carry them over into the next year. So many times in this period, and it's a 6-week period that we're starting this week. Actually, it's 8 weeks this year, if I'm not mistaken. That our ego and the things that we thought we transformed, we elevated, we healed, we worked on, seems to come back
to the surface.
Almost like a frisbee or a boomerang that you throw out. You thought you threw it far enough, and whoop, it's back in your lap again. I want everybody to know that if you're looking at yourself, not only this week, in the coming weeks, and you say, wow, I thought I was done with that, or I thought I put that behind me, or, I did so much therapy on this, why is it coming up again? It's not anything that you're doing wrong. It's actually a beautiful feedback system that is built into the universe to refocus our work, to tell us, and, spiritual work it's not linear, it's layered. And even though, I can talk about it for myself, I've shared many times on the podcast that I used to have a lot of trouble speaking. Like I didn't talk.
Same.
At all to anyone, unless I felt very safe. But in public, I couldn't speak at all.
Somehow I don't see that about you, Alicia.
So most people say that, but I have eyewitnesses and family members who will attest. And I've worked on it, obviously. Here I am today. I probably talk to a few thousand people, maybe even 10,000 people every week. But the communication tikkun is still there. It's just not public facing anymore.
So, and I know you spoke about tikkun, you've had Daniel, tikkun healing. We're always healing. Like you said, there's layers and layers. And when we peel off the layers continuously and we stop doubting, I thought I finished with this already, and I'm going to do this and it's going to get rid of that. None of that works. We're always healing, and any energy we put into any healing session, any time we take, is working, and it is piercing through the many dimensions of us. So don't doubt that for a moment. Yeah. For
sure. And that's why I'm saying, if you've known me, we've known each other for a long time. Hopefully you can see there's some evolution there. But it's really, I know that when, and by the way, it's funny because when you said about the throat, I have like seasonal laryngitis. And I know that whenever I lose my voice, it's either because I haven't spoken up or I used my voice in a way that I shouldn't have. And I feel like the communication system of the universe is so perfect like that. So I'm not that the communication issues will come up for everyone. If that's your issue, it will come up in the coming weeks. But to know that it's actually a positive thing to see those things, because it's like the universe saying, don't get distracted by this over here. Come back and focus on this. And so whatever comes up for you in the next few weeks, recognize it's not a punishment. It's not a sign you're doing something wrong. It is a built-in feedback system whereby the creator shows us what to focus on.
And healing is coming. That's right. The only way. That's the only reason we're shown, is because the universe, by divine timing, says they're ready to heal and at the piece of that.
That's the word. I was hoping you were going to say the word ready. It comes to you when you're ready to work on it.
That's right. So instead of becoming heavy about it and saying, oh, I thought I finished with this and I thought I cleared this, or whatever it is, put that aside. Start the year with, wow, thank you, universe. Thank you for showing me I must be ready what do you want me to do now? You know, how can I go further in this work that I'm doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to mention as we wrap up that being that this is a new year, we have courses, beginners courses starting in every center, in every language, all over the world. I would say it probably carries into February just because, you know, January 1st and nobody's ready to start anything. But if you feel like you're ready for a system, that you want to bring everything that you've been hearing on Weekly Energy Boost into more of a daily practice, you're also welcome to go to weeklyenergyboost.com. The next global Kabbalah one we have is on January 24th at 7 p.m. So you can log in from anywhere. It is in English and it is geared towards obviously the time zones in the US, but we have people that log in from literally every time zone on the planet, as well as courses starting in every language and in other time zones as well for other parts of the world. You can find out all about that at weeklyenergyboost.com, as well as the work that Rachel is doing, that amazing, awesome stuff. And I want to hear more, so stay tuned. Thank you for being here, by the way.
Thank you for having me. It's really fun.
It is fun. I love it. And I hope you love it too. Weekly Energy Boost is available on all podcast platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. As I said before, you can go to weeklyenergyboost.com and check out all the things we think are important for our listeners to know about. You can also click the donate button and support our podcast. But really the best thing that you can do for yourself and to support us is to share this episode and stop to rate and review it wherever you're listening to it. That helps us get into more hands and more ears. And we'll see you next week on the Weekly Energy Boost.